ball, forget about the schedule for a second. It's Lamar Jackson. And the question is, who can get past Patrick Mahomes? Because none of them seem like they can, right? And if you look at what Lamar's done, right, the 2 MVPs versus Josh's 1. Josh has been to 2 AFC championship games. Lamar's only been to 1, 2023, when they were the 1 seed. So we're talking about the Chiefs here, or the Bills here, the 1 seed. The Chiefs still went on the road and beat them, right? And you look at the weapons that he has, the narrative around Lamar's playoff struggles, right? It's like he hasn't played well. And he's played, if you just take the playoffs, he's played overall a lot worse than Josh Allen in the playoffs. He has had good stretches of a game, right? He's had a good second half in this Bills game, right? Came back. Mark Andrews obviously dropped the ball. Lamar's 3-5 in the playoffs at the end of the day. And he's had some real clunkers in there, too. He's 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 7 interceptions in 8 playoff games. And you go to Josh Allen, he's 7-6, but Josh is 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's averaging 270 yards a game in the playoffs. Josh Allen is like that in the playoffs. He's shown that. None of them have shown that they can get through Patrick Mahomes. So while I agree Josh got his first MVP, we know it. Like, Josh does not need a Super Bowl more than Lamar right now.
Hold on, because this can't be accurate. You say 25 touchdowns?
25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in the playoffs, Josh Allen. He's ran into Patrick Mahomes. So, like, that's the only thing keeping him back.
That's wild. That's asinine.
Yeah, he's amazing in the playoffs.
Yeah, best ratio in NFL playoff history.
Yeah. He's like that.
I was like, nah, Chase had to have missed both.
No, I don't miss both.
25 touchdowns.
And
Lamar's 10-7.
And like my man said, like my man that ain't here today would
He's
say,
insane.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Because it ain't got him nothing.
2 AFC championship games.
Got
That's
him
it.
the same thing, Lamar. Yeah. Not to a Super Bowl.
And he's run into Pat both times and did not get to the Super Bowl.
We put a lot of pressure on Lamar because of these 2 MVPs and all that type stuff and because of the struggles in the playoffs. But both of them ain't been to this game.
Yeah, you're right.
If this was Lamar Jackson's schedule.
Pressure.
Come on, man.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Come on.
Hey, speaking of...
He will have a third MVP. Unanimous.
Yeah.
You understand? So we got to put that pressure on Josh Allen.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of pressure, Caleb Williams had a
Okay, we're not here to talk about Caleb Williams. So, yeah, listen. It's an interesting one. Because I think it all depends on how you unpack this argument. In terms of who needs the Super Bowl more. I do agree that the perception is that Lamar Jackson comes up short in the playoffs more than Josh Allen. And Josh Allen has earned that right because he really does ball out in the Super Bowl. And in all the games that he's played against in the playoffs, when he's played the Kansas City Chiefs, who have obviously been the premier team in the NFL, Josh Allen has played unbelievable against the Kansas City Chiefs every single time. Whereas most recently in 2023, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens just simply did not. And again, I've defended Lamar Jackson throughout the playoffs. I've called out the franchise of the Ravens as a whole. But the reality is that the Ravens, that franchise, the coaching, it holds more weight than what Josh Allen has had to deal with the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens have won Super Bowls, right? Like, especially within the last, however many years. Like, they've won with Flacco. Like, let me see I think the other one was like 1998. Let me see. No, okay, yeah, 2001 and 2013. And the Baltimore Ravens are up there. That for the last 25 years, for a while they were tied with the Philadelphia Eagles as the top team with most playoff wins in the NFL in the last 25 years, under just New England Patriots with, of course, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And some of that is Lamar, but a lot of that is also not Lamar. And so it's just seen that this franchise builds great teams, has a great culture. Harbaugh's a Super Bowl winner, etc., etc., etc. And so I think because of that, there is more of a feeling that Lamar Jackson has let the Ravens down more so. And whereas the Buffalo Bills, they were pretty much nothing for, quite frankly, my entire life until Josh Allen came to the scene. And I know they had the run where they went to a bunch of Super Bowls before. That was really, really long time ago. And with here, it's just, the Baltimore Ravens have just been more competitive over the years. It's seen as a better run franchise. And here's the list. You got the Patriots at 30, the Eagles at 20, the Chiefs at 18, which is obviously just, pretty recent, obviously, with Mahomes. Then you have the Ravens, and they're 4, so they're tied for third, and you got to drop all the way down to get to the Bills. I mean, all those wins are all Josh Allen. I mean, that's the reality. Every single one of those wins is Josh Allen. Like, that's the difference. And so that is the burden that Lamar Jackson has with all of this. And I think if he played better in the playoffs but lost, there would maybe be less of an emphasis. I mean, at the end of the day, I really think both these players need the Super Bowl, because I think if they don't, they'll always just be looked at in the shadows of Patrick Mahomes. And to me, that's kind of a tragedy, because I think both these quarterbacks are just as special, if not more special, than Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes easily went to the best team, best coaching staff, most stability out of either of these guys. Out of all 4 of them, including Joe Burrow. And it's no mistake that Patrick Mahomes went to the best situation with the best offensive head coach, and therefore that's now led ultimately to the best external career success in terms of rings and whatnot. And so, but if we kind of remove that from the equation, it's just like, I feel like history will look a little bit more favorable on Josh Allen, especially if he continues with his direction, because he's like top in passer rating in the playoffs, top in total yards per game, rushing yards per game, touchdown to interception ratio, completion percent. I mean, like, he is up there. He really, really is. And I know there's always this big battle between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen fans, and that's not really I really have no desire to unpack that in this game. I'm not here to say Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson, or Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback than Josh Allen. Like, I'm not trying to have this conversation. I'm looking at it more from the outside looking in terms of, like, what is the public perception? Who needs to get, so it even just says who needs to get to the Super Bowl more? Like, I don't even think, that question is phrased poorly, because it's who needs to win the Super Bowl more. Because they both need to, for the sake of their careers, for their legacies. Because if they could win a Super Bowl or 2, especially if it's 2 or 3, like, they then truly enter the equation of, like, are you on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, and how do we define how great a quarterback is, and how we have to look beyond just the number of rings, because here we have such special quarterbacks. And if you just ask yourself, as special as Lamar Jackson is, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, what will be the story that's told about him, right? Like, where will people blame? What will people blame? And I just feel like more people would say, oh, he did not step up. Whereas Josh Allen, I think you'll definitely have plenty of people that will blame him. They blamed him for, the last 2 losses against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, which I rejected. I think they'll still say, well, the Buffalo Bills can't win nothing. They're cursed. They're not that good. They ruined Josh Allen's career. I don't think you get that same level of energy around the Baltimore Ravens, especially when you look at all the all-pro players that they've had, all the Pro Bowlers that they've had. They've had a top roster construction for years, quite frankly. And they were the number 1 seed, and they did lose 17-10, and Lamar Jackson did not have a good game that game. And again, I blame coaching, I blame the team, I blame a lot of people, and I do not put it all on Lamar Jackson. But the reality is 10, 15 years from now, you just don't remember that stuff so vividly. You just remember, oh, the score was 17-10, and Lamar Jackson threw an interception and, looked uncomfortable in the game, and there you go. Like, that's how it's remembered. Think about even Josh Allen's, probably his biggest loss in his entire career, right? The 13-second game, or however many second game it was. Nobody's blaming Josh Allen for that game, because he absolutely balled out. In fact, the way he lost, they were like, well, this feels unfair that he didn't even get to touch the ball. This game was wild. and the Chiefs win just because they get the ball first in overtime. Like, that doesn't sound fair, and rightfully so. Now the rules change, and that makes sense. So it's just, again, it all becomes public perception when you say who needs to win the Super Bowl more. We're talking about public perception. Like, that's what it all comes down to, is what will the public say? How do fans feel? But the reality is, as someone who interacts with both individual fan bases, they are so madly, deeply, next level in love with their respective quarterbacks that it won't matter to them. Honestly, if Josh Allen doesn't win a Super Bowl, if Lamar Jackson doesn't win a Super Bowl, they will still, debate till they're blue in their face that their respective quarterback is the best, that they are the greatest, that they are actually better than, some of these other quarterbacks over the years who have won Super Bowls. And that's the thing. Like, who's a better quarterback? Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? We know that. I don't even have to hesitate. It's obviously Lamar Jackson. It's obviously Josh Allen. It's not even a question. I don't even have to be like, well, what about this? There is no what about this. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, infinitely better, levels better than Russell Wilson. No ifs, ands, or buts. And the dude's been to 2 Super Bowls and won 1. Who's a better quarterback? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Brock Purdy? Jimmy Garoppolo. We know that answer, and yet both those quarterbacks have gone to Super Bowls. And we can keep doing this again and again and again. It's why I don't live and die by, have you been to the Super Bowl? Have you won Super Bowls? I think it's important, and I think once you reach a certain level, like, whereas if Josh Allen did win a Super Bowl, or if Lamar Jackson did win a Super Bowl, like, it does now enter the equation, and especially how they play. If Lamar Jackson absolutely gets to a Super Bowl and absolutely balls out, well, then that truly becomes part of his resume. If he wins the Super Bowl, but he doesn't play that well, or he gets to the Super Bowl and he plays just kind of poorly and just not a great game, that is part of his legacy. Then you are kind of like, well, how good is he in big game moments? It's a real conversation. Kind of like Jalen Hurts, who got to go to 2 Super Bowls and won 1 and played awesome in both. That is a massive check mark in his column. You can say that he's not as good of a quarterback as Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but you can't take away that Jalen Hurts has played better in bigger moments than Lamar Jackson has, because he's actually reached the Super Bowl. Like, that is just the reality of the situation. Whereas if Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen can get to the Super Bowl and win and play great, that is now another thing that you can't now say, well, Jalen Hurts has that above him, or even Aaron Rodgers, or, some of these other quarterbacks. So it's just like it becomes a sloppier discussion than I think we want to give it credit for, honestly. And I think the answer just also changes. You could ask me one day and I'd say, oh, Josh Allen needs it. And you can ask me another day and I'll say, actually, Lamar Jackson needs it. And again, it all depends on the lens we're looking at it through the fan bases, through the media, for their respective teams, the general fans, the immediate fans, the Josh Allen fans, Lamar Jackson fans, the Baltimore Ravens fans, the Buffalo Bills fans. The question and the answer changes depending on who's answering it. Like, that's really ultimately what it gets boiled down to. And my general read on the situation, based on how I feel that the media talks about these quarterbacks, is that they are just both deeply in the shadows of Patrick Mahomes. And, it's just really a mad dash who can get over that. And even if either of those quarterbacks wins the Super Bowl, they will still be seen in the shadows because of, 1, Patrick Mahomes beating them so many times in the playoffs, and 2, Patrick Mahomes just having more Super Bowls, quite frankly. And so when we pit these 2 quarterbacks together, 2 awesome, truly all-time great quarterbacks who now both have not made it to Super Bowls, and then, there you go. And the truth is, you can't have it both ways, where you can't just say, wins and losses don't matter, or they do matter, and then downplay, well, it's like, well, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback, but then he lost to Patrick Mahomes. So therefore, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. And then it's like, okay, but then Lamar Jackson then lost to Josh Allen. So then do you have to then concede that Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson? It's why I don't use head-to-head matchups as to dictate how I feel about any of these quarterbacks, quite frankly. But I do look at how they play and the quality of play more than anything. So that's why this conversation just will always go in circles and round and round and round. And I'm just also hyper aware of how intense both these respective fan bases are. Like, I've said nothing controversial in this clip, quite frankly, and yet I just know that the comment section could get pretty feisty. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Who do you think needs a Super Bowl win more? Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.